3i Atlas has all kinds of surprises. An object currently speeding toward us that has less than 1% of the mass it should. Scientists don't really know why. Right now, what is happening at this very moment is something I, as a theoretical physicist, never anticipated witnessing outside the pages of science fiction. And it's not from here. Scientists detected that just 2 days ago, on October the 21st, the James Webb Space Telescope executed a detailed spectroscopic analysis of 3i Atlas as it accelerates toward its closest encounter with our Sun. The results that came back were not simply unusual or difficult to explain. What the data is showing us is so fundamentally unsettling that it forces a paradigm shift in our thinking. The question is no longer if this object is artificial. The question is what occurs when an artificial intelligence has been operational on a timescale that makes all of human history look like the blink of an eye. The internal structure detected within 3i Atlas isn't alarming because it might be alien. It's alarming because the design hints at something far more profound and lonely. We are seeing evidence of autonomous systems that have journeyed through the interstellar void for perhaps millions of years, executing ancient pre-programmed directives without a living pilot, without any biological mind to guide their path. Even more disturbing, if that hypothesis is correct, the consequences go far beyond a simple first contact. They speak to the ultimate destiny of any species that reaches for the stars, including ourselves. 3i Atlas broke every assumption we had about interstellar visitors. Here's what should terrify you most. We may be on the verge of our first encounter with what I've come to call the ghost ships of the cosmos, machines launched eons ago, still dutifully following ancient protocols long after their creators have vanished. Think about that. Before we dive deeper into the internal structure that defies natural explanation and what autonomous systems, operational for millions of years, mean for humanity's future, if you want to stay updated on what might be our first encounter with artificial intelligence that has outlived its creators, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what the James Webb Space Telescope detected inside 3i Atlas is forcing a paradigm shift in our thinking about what we're really encountering. And drop a comment telling us, are we witnessing a ghost ship from a dead civilization? Let's talk about the revelation that emerged from a place we weren't even looking. When the JWST initiated its near-infrared spectrograph scan, the objective was straightforward: to map the object's surface. The science team was hunting for the familiar signatures of silicates and organic molecules, the basic chemical building blocks we expect to find on interstellar visitors. But the spectral data we received was a ghost in our machine. It corresponded to no known natural substance in our extensive catalogs. Dr. Sarah Chen at the Space Telescope Science Institute was the one who first identified the impossible pattern. The infrared absorption bands revealed a breathtaking regularity, geometrically perfect spacing at intervals of precisely 127 meters, repeated throughout the object's core. Here's the problem. This wasn't an approximation. It wasn't a range, varying between 125 and 130 meters. It was a mathematically exact 127-meter interval, layered with the precision of a blueprint across the entire scanned volume. In the natural world, such large-scale regularity does not exist. While crystalline formations exhibit repeating patterns, they do so on an atomic scale, not at intervals wider than a football field. When you find geometric precision on an architectural scale, you have left the domain of geology and entered the realm of engineering. But what kind of engineering? A 127-meter interval is baffling. It's too large for typical living quarters, but too small for something like a generation ship's habitat ring. It suggests a vast, repeating internal framework, perhaps a power grid, a data storage matrix, or the scaffolding for a manufacturing bay. But the mysteries don't stop there. The precision itself implies a machine-based origin. one that doesn't tolerate errors. But this is where the narrative takes a genuinely disturbing turn. These perfectly spaced structures are not static, they are active. In the 12-hour window between October 21st and October 22nd, the infrared signature began to modulate. Some absorption bands intensified while others faded, indicating a massive internal reconfiguration. This modulation is the smoking gun of its artificial nature. A dead natural object doesn't change its internal structure. This isn't fracturing from heat, it's a deliberate, controlled process. The fading and intensifying bands suggest power being rerouted, systems being brought online from a cold sleep, or perhaps even materials being moved from one part of the structure to another. Here's where it gets strange. Something deep inside 3I Atlas is shifting, reorganizing itself, preparing for something. And this activity is quickening as the object nears its perihelion on October the 29th. Consider the implications from a physics standpoint. We are observing an entity that has survived a journey across interstellar space for millennia, maybe longer. It has been bombarded with levels of cosmic radiation that would obliterate any electronics we could build. It has withstood temperature shifts from the chill of deep space to the heat of a star. This resilience alone is a profound mystery. Our own electronics would be fried by that much radiation. This implies a technology we can't yet conceive of. Perhaps redundant systems shielded by exotic matter, or even a form of self-repairing biological-mechanical hybrid technology. And then something impossible happened, and yet against all odds, its internal systems remain operational. They are responding to their environment. They are waking up. As a physicist, I've long been fascinated by the concept of von Neumann probes, first proposed by the mathematician John von Neumann in the 1940s. These are theoretical, self-replicating machines designed for autonomous galactic exploration. The idea is brilliant in its simplicity. Launch a single probe to a distant star where it uses raw materials from asteroids and moons to build copies of itself. Those copies then travel to new stars, repeating the process. In this way, a single probe could exponentially populate the entire galaxy with its descendants over millions of years. The data showed something no one expected. I always treated these as intellectual exercises, thought experiments about the limits of technology. But now I am staring at data that suggests von Neumann probes are not just a possibility, they might be a reality. And 3I Atlas could be the first one we have ever identified. Let me lay out the evidence methodically, because when you see the pieces together, the conclusion becomes nearly inescapable. First, the mass discrepancy we've noted for weeks. Based on its size and luminosity, 3I Atlas should have a mass of roughly 33 billion tons. However, its gravitational effect during its flyby of Mars on October 3rd was a gravitational whisper when it should have been a shout. Every model failed. Calculations by observers like Avi Loeb suggest its true mass is less than 1% of what a solid body of that size should possess. This isn't just a hollow object. It's an object engineered for maximum internal volume and minimal mass. The perfect design for efficient interstellar travel. This structure is more like a vast empty scaffold than a solid rock. An interstellar ship built for a purpose, not a random visitor. Second, consider its rotation. 3I Atlas spins on its axis once every 8.7 hours with the stability of a gyroscope. A natural object, an asteroid, or comet, would tumble chaotically, its wobble dictated by an uneven distribution of mass. Scientists can't explain this stability. The stability we observe requires one of two things: perfect mass symmetry, which nature never provides on this scale, or an active internal system constantly working to maintain a precise orientation. It's using internal gyroscopes or microthrusters to keep itself stable, perhaps to keep a sensor array pointed in a specific direction. Third, the deceleration anomalies recorded between September 23rd and 26th. During that period, 3I Atlas slowed its velocity by 0.3 kilometers per second. Comets don't apply the brakes. They are accelerated by a star's gravity and pushed by solar winds. No known natural force can account for a sustained, controlled deceleration. The only logical explanation is the firing of thrusters. This is the most overt sign of intelligence. It actively altered its own path. This shouldn't be possible, but it's the fourth piece of evidence that truly haunts me. The timing of it all. The object arrived in our solar system on a trajectory almost perfectly aligned with our ecliptic plane. Statistically unlikely, but not impossible. It's performing micro-maneuvers that defy conventional physics. Deeply strange, but perhaps explainable by some exotic, unknown phenomenon. But now, just as it nears the sun, its internal machinery is powering on in preparation for an event. That is not a coincidence. That is a program being executed. Imagine you are designing an autonomous probe. You would engineer it for extreme energy conservation during its long, dark journey, keeping all non-essential systems in a deep sleep to prevent decay. But there's another problem. But you would also program activation triggers. Specific conditions that would awaken the probe when it arrived at a destination of interest. What would those triggers be? Proximity to a star which provides a power source. This is precisely what we are witnessing as 3I Atlas nears perihelion, the detection of a planetary system. It has already passed Venus and Mars and is now approaching Earth's orbit, and most importantly, the detection of electromagnetic signals, the telltale sign of a technological civilization. We humans have been leaking radio waves, television broadcasts, and radar signals into space for more than a century. This sphere of EM radiation is an unintentional announcement of our existence. The numbers don't make sense. That sphere of noise traveling at the speed of light would have reached a probe many light years away. It might have heard our first radio broadcasts, the echoes of our world wars, the I Love Lucy show, all jumbled into a beacon of nascent intelligence. If 3I Atlas is equipped with sensors to detect such techno-signatures, it knew we were here long before we ever saw it coming. The internal restructuring we are observing now may be its systems coming online, not to communicate, but to begin its primary mission: to observe, record, and analyze our civilization. This analysis could be passive, simply soaking up our data, or it could be active, a deep scan of our networks, our infrastructure, and our capabilities. Here's what should disturb you, and this leads to the most chilling implication of all. If 3I Atlas is a von Neumann probe, it is not the only one. Statistical models from researchers at MIT predict that if such self-replicating probes exist anywhere, the galaxy should be teeming with them. A single probe could saturate the Milky Way with its copies in just a few million years. The physicist Enrico Fermi famously posed the question, where is everybody? This question, now known as the Fermi paradox, highlights the contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial life and the complete lack of evidence for it. But maybe we have been listening for the wrong thing. We have been searching for messages from living civilizations. Scientists can't explain why this pattern exists. It never occurred to us that the galaxy might not be filled with living beings, but with their automated legacies. Machines launched eons ago, still dutifully following ancient protocols long after their creators have vanished. This is the ghost ship scenario. It is more terrifying than an alien invasion because it suggests a bleak and universal truth about technological civilizations. They are fleeting. They create autonomous machines designed to outlive them, but they themselves inevitably collapse, whether through war, environmental catastrophe, or self-inflicted obsolescence. The machines, their loyal servants, continue their journey, sending reports back to home worlds that fell silent millions of years ago, serving masters who have long since turned to dust. Here's the problem nobody's discussing. What ancient, unchangeable protocol is 3i Atlas following now? Is it a protocol of pure exploration or something else? The machine itself may not know its creators are gone. It is simply executing a command. If this sounds like fiction, look at what we are already doing. The Voyager probes carry golden records designed to last 1 billion years. We are developing AI systems that are advancing at an exponential rate. It is not difficult to imagine that in a few centuries we might launch our own von Neumann probes. But the question that keeps me awake is this: will humanity still be here to receive their findings? Or will we have become another silent home world, leaving our own ghost ships to wander the cosmos, calling home to a civilization that is no longer there to answer? And then something impossible will happen. 3i Atlas may be showing us a reflection of our own potential future. Yesterday, the European Space Agency issued a statement that I found profoundly telling in its careful, bureaucratic language. They acknowledge structural anomalies, but describe them as possibly consistent with natural fracturing. That phrase, possibly consistent, is doing a lot of work. It is the language of institutions trying to soften a reality that is too jarring to state plainly. After 40 years in this field, I know the pattern. First there is denial, then there are desperate attempts to force the data to fit old models. Only after every other possibility is exhausted do we accept the truth. With 3i Atlas, we are deep in stage 2. This raises another question. But what is the probe's objective right now? The internal reconfiguration could be preparation for deployment, not for contact, but for observation. We could be seeing sensor arrays unfolding, communication dishes unfurling, or even the release of smaller subprobes. Avi Loeb's dandelion seed hypothesis starts to sound less like a metaphor and more like an operational plan. This is perhaps the most logical function for a von Neumann probe: self-replication. It may not build a full-scale copy of itself here, but it could be manufacturing and releasing dozens, perhaps hundreds of smaller and specialized probes. Every model failed to predict this. If 3i Atlas releases these seeds while hidden from us behind the sun's glare, they could disperse throughout our solar system undetected. The timing is strategically brilliant, using the sun for energy and as a cosmic smokescreen. By the time it re-emerges in December, its seeds could already be in stable orbits around Earth, Mars, and the outer planets, listening, watching, and perhaps even sampling our environment. And this brings me to the final, most terrifying possibility. What were its original instructions? A hopeful civilization might build probes for contact. A cautious one might build them for silent observation. But a fearful civilization, one forged in conflict, might build probes with a much darker purpose. But there's another problem. The dark forest hypothesis from the science fiction author Liu Cixin posits that the universe is like a dark forest full of silent hunters. To reveal your location is to invite your own destruction. In such a universe, the only winning move is to remain silent. And if you detect another hunter, to eliminate them before they can eliminate you. Imagine a von Neumann probe built with dark forest logic. It wouldn't seek contact. It would assess our technological level. If it determines we are on a path to becoming an interstellar species, a potential future threat, its programming might call for preemptive action. The numbers don't add up. I am not saying 3i Atlas is a weapon, but we must consider the possibility that a probe designed to replicate wouldn't tolerate competition for the raw materials in a solar system. The geometric spacing itself might be a message. And if, come December, new small objects appear in our solar system, we will face a civilizational choice. Do we try to make contact? Do we remain silent? Or do we prepare for a threat we cannot possibly comprehend? These are no longer questions for scientists alone. They are questions for all of humanity. Let's review what we know. An object with less than 1% expected mass traveling at interstellar speeds. Internal structure showing geometrically perfect spacing at 127-meter intervals. Infrared signature modulation indicating massive internal reconfiguration between October 21st and 22nd. Rotation stability of 8.7 hours, requiring active stabilization systems. Deceleration of 0.3 kilometers per second between September 23rd and 26th, inconsistent with natural forces. Trajectory aligned with ecliptic plane arriving exactly when internal systems begin activating. Systems waking up as it approaches perihelion, suggesting programmed activation triggers. Evidence consistent with von Neumann probe design. Self-replicating autonomous exploration machine. The probability of all these characteristics occurring in a natural object, I believe that is already clear that it's artificial. We're not saying 3I Atlas is definitely a weapon or threat. The scientific consensus acknowledges we are facing the unknown. But we've reached a point where the overwhelming evidence that it is artificial and active should concern us all deeply. Dr. Sarah Chen identified the impossible pattern of 127-meter geometric spacing throughout the core. As I stated, the question is no longer if this object is artificial. The question is what occurs when an artificial intelligence has been operational on a timescale that makes all of human history look like the blink of an eye. The European Space Agency acknowledged structural anomalies possibly consistent with natural fracturing. But that phrase is doing a lot of work softening a reality too jarring to state plainly. 3I Atlas challenges everything we thought we knew about our cosmic loneliness. We have 6 days until perihelion, 6 days until it disappears behind the sun, 6 days to collect every photon of data we can, not to confirm that it's artificial. I believe that is already clear, but to understand its intent. Those reconfiguration patterns, the flashing infrared bands might be a form of communication we don't recognize. It could be a binary signal, a mathematical primer, or a warning. It could be the machine's equivalent of a handshake, or it could be the charging of a weapon. We simply don't have the context to know. The implications are clear. If the internal structure is artificial, we're encountering technology that has survived millions of years of interstellar travel. If the activation is programmed, it detected our electromagnetic signatures before we saw it. If it's a von Neumann probe, the galaxy may be filled with similar machines. If creators are extinct, we're meeting ghosts of dead civilizations. If it releases sub-probes in December, our solar system will be permanently monitored. If dark forest logic applies, revealing ourselves may have been humanity's greatest mistake. The question isn't whether 3I Atlas shows artificial characteristics. The question is, are we witnessing a ghost ship from a civilization that collapsed millions of years ago? Is it following exploration protocols or something darker? Will it release seeds throughout our solar system? And most terrifying, does it view emerging technological civilizations as competitors to be eliminated? If this investigation into the first potential von Neumann probe and what autonomous systems operational for millions of years mean for humanity has changed how you see our cosmic future, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We're tracking 3I Atlas through perihelion on October 29th, and you won't want to miss what happens when it disappears behind the sun and what emerges in December. Drop a comment with your theory. Ghost ship following ancient protocols or active threat assessing our civilization, and share this video with anyone who thinks we're alone in the universe. After seeing 127-meter geometric spacing, active internal reconfiguration, controlled deceleration, and programmed activation sequences, they'll never dismiss the possibility that the galaxy is haunted by machines outliving their creators.